everybody. Welcome to another episode from Your Own Pathway Leadership and Mental Well Being. For those who don't know me, my name is Paya. I'm a licensed psychotherapist and a trauma informed leadership consultant. I use that experience to help leaders and organizations diagnose what's not working and realign to their foundations, values, and integrity. Because leadership isn't just about performance, it's about how your system impacts people. So let's own it. So today's episode is for to address something that I think all of us are seeing, especially in the corporate and other systems, is coaching. And there has been an increase of coaching, and I think that's wonderful. And honestly, I also think there are limitations to coaching. And so today's episode is to really address coaching within a larger system and why you cannot executive coach your way out of a bad system. Because we are seeing a lot of coaching, all types of coaching in systems and putting the accountability back on an individual instead of addressing the system. So, as I mentioned, we're seeing executive coaching, we're seeing resilience coaching, coaching, confidence, mindset. I've seen an increase in mindset coaching. And I want to be clear about this. This episode is very much to say that yes, coaching can be very helpful and it can certainly support growth. It can definitely improve communication. It can improve strength and confidence. It gives self awareness, and it can help leaders regulate so that they can operate under pressure. And of course, those are real and huge benefits. But here is the honest truth, and I'm seeing a lot of this. The truth is, you as a person and an organization can invest in all the coaching in the world and still fail to create meaningful change inside, especially a broken system. Because if the foundation does not support the change does not hold. If the culture of a system is rewarding fear, silence, confusion, contradiction, or burnout, then coaching one person will always have limits. And yes, coaching can definitely strengthen an individual. But coaching often fails inside a structure and a system that is structured to resist healthy change. And organizations are spending billions on coaching and leadership development. So, this is not a small conversation. The real question in all of this is not whether coaching has value, but the real question is whether it is being used to solve the right problem. So, I want to talk about what coaching does well and where it stops. So, coaching can help again with self awareness, communication, with confidence, emotional regulation, decision making, and having presence and especially accountability. All of that matters in a good leader. But the thing is, most coaching models focus primarily on the individual, the employee, the manager, the supervisor, the executive. And so the question becomes, how can this person improve? Or how can they perform better? How can this person communicate better? Or how can they lead more effectively? Very useful questions, but also very incomplete questions. Why? And why is that? And so, I noticed all of this as I was working with people and um, working with people, especially in therapy, and working with other executive coaches who coach other people. And so, even through all of this, a lot of the work was put so much on the individual with the questions that I just asked during this episode. And so I realized something. Everything was put back on the individual, and nothing was addressing the system. And so that's why my lens, my consulting discipline, asks something very much deeper. When you have these people who need this coaching and need improvement for everything that I said, the mindset, the accountability, the communication, the confidence, all of that. The question that I ask is, what system are they operating inside? What conditions are shaping their behavior? What pressures are actually influencing their decisions? What patterns keep repeating no matter who is in the role? And so, my consulting discipline, I just don't ask what this person needs. I ask what this system is producing. Moving on, let's talk about why systems matter. Long before I did this work in organizations, I saw this same principle in the work that I did, and especially in family systems and doing therapy. I worked with children and families often navigating trauma, instability, and difficult environments. And one truth became clear: individual support matters, but environment matters too. Yes, I could teach these kids coping skills. I could teach them regulation. I could teach them about communication and the tools and breathing techniques. And all of that had value, certainly. But those tools had limits. If that child returned to an environment that was often shaped by fear, unpredictability, chaos, or punitive authority. Why? Because no skill exists in a vacuum. Skills are practiced inside systems, and the same principle applies in organizations. Again, you can coach mindset, you can coach confidence, you can coach communication, you can coach executive presence. But the thing is, if that person, that individual returns to a culture where honesty is punished and authority is inconsistent and expectations are unclear, or fear drives behavior, those skills will always face resistance. And again, yes, development matters, but development without structural support has limits. And so let's talk about what a bad system often looks like. When we think about bad systems, we always think, oh, it looks so dramatic and it's so noticeable. It's very macro. Often, it's actually very micro. And sometimes it looks normal from the outside. It can look like constant confusion, unclear roles, shifting priorities, reactive leadership, favoritism, silence in meetings, fear of honesty, and all of that. And, burnout framed as weakness. These are not random people problems. These are system signals. What do? They tell you something deeper is happening in this structure. Organizations often focus on visible behavior while ignoring invisible conditions. They ask, why are people so disengaged? Or why is our morale so low? Or why are leaders struggling? But one thing they do is they fail to ask, what have we built that keeps producing these outcomes? So the truth is, misdiagnosis in a system can be very expensive. It gets really expensive. And so this is where organizations lose time, money, and trust when structural problems are treated as individual problems. And this includes responsibility gets misplaced, then people get coached, trained, warned. We've all had pips. If you haven't, congratulations, but a lot of us, I think, have had pips. Replace, get replaced. But even through all of that, the conditions stay the same. So I want to share a story. And one of the things that I've been doing is networking, especially with coaches. And so I recently met with a person who does coaching, and their role is that they help leaders build confidence so that they can speak up more effectively, especially in meetings. And yes, that can absolutely have value. But when this acquaintance talked about this, discussed about how they were working with this client to talk about to gain confidence, and in hearing that story, after I heard that story, my automatic question and feedback to this person was different. And I asked, is this really a confidence issue or is this a systems issue? And what I meant by this when I clarified was I asked, does this environment and does this system actually support honest feedback? Is there actually psychological safety here? Can this person speak openly without punishment, without exclusion, without fear and retaliation? Or will there be consequences if this person were to speak up? And it's with all of that, it was framed as confidence. Because even sometimes in situations like this, what may have been labeled as low confidence is actually a rational response to an unsafe system. And if we misdiagnose fear as personal weakness, what happens? We end up coaching the individual while ignoring the conditions that taught them to stay quiet in the first place. So, what happens? Then the cycle repeats itself. Yes, new person, same pattern. New leader, same dysfunction. New initiatives, same frustration. Because systems produce what they're structured to produce. And so, even through all of this, what actually creates lasting change? I know we talked about all the things, about coaching, the limitations of it. And so, what actually creates lasting change through all of this? Sometimes the real need is not more coaching, it is structural realignment. So, what does that mean? Well, that means examining leadership behavior, decision pathways, communication patterns, incentives, accountability. Is there actual accountability? If so, where are the accountability structures? What is the role clarity in all of this? And most importantly, through all of this, where did the trust breakdowns occur? Where were the pressure points? Where were the gaps between stated values and actual lived reality? These are alignment questions, not just performance questions. And When fragmentation is addressed at the system level, coaching becomes more powerful. Yes, executive coaching can help leaders grow. Yes, resilience coaching can strengthen capacity. Yes, mindset coaching can support confidence and perspective. But these tools work best when they are reinforced by a healthier environment. When both levels are addressed, individual responsibility and structural responsibility, change has a real chance to last. And it's just not lip service. So, to close out this episode, I want to reinforce and say executive coaching, resilient coaching, mindset coaching, all of that has a place. It really does. But no individual intervention can permanently solve a system that keeps generating the same harm. People are often treated as the problem when they are responding to the conditions of the system. So, if the same dysfunction keeps repeating, stop asking who needs more coaching. Start asking what was built to keep this happening over and over. This is where real change begins. So, that is all I have for you all today. And again, I want to say coaching definitely has its positives. Coaching is very helpful. And coaching also has its limitations, especially in a system that does not look at itself, does not take accountability. And I want to reinforce that coaching is important, and for all you coaches out there, and for people who receive coaching, and I receive my own coaching too. So I want to clarify that, which has immensely helped me. However, you cannot out coach a system that refuses to take accountability and refuses to change. So, that is all I have for you all this week. Again, this is your own pathway, leadership and mental well being. As always, lead with alignment, lead with regulation, lead with accountability, and especially lead with integrity and own it. Take care, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.